Hi everybody, this is the baseball hype, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, HUD. Welcome back to the baseball HUD, and hopefully you like this video. It's very rarely do I get shocked, and I'm shocked right now. It shocked me so much that my voice is shot. But no, I'm dealing with a cold, but that's not what we're talking about here. The Mets have made a big trade. They traded Brandon Nimmo. I couldn't believe it. To the Texas Rangers for Marcus Semien, a second baseman. We know Marcus from the Rangers. He's been around a long time. He's been a very good player. But this is a shocker. The Mets finally decided to just break away from the past. I've talked a lot about the Mets having to improve this team. And look, Brandon Nimmo was not dead weight on this team. He was a great guy. He's been here a long time, a real good man. But this was a team that needed to make massive changes to the personality of that clubhouse. Okay? They'd taken this team as far as they could take it with this group. They took it as far as they could last year when they went to the NLCS. They brought it all back together with Juan Soto, and it just didn't work out. We've seen this up and down kind of play over the last 6 years. Since 2019, we've seen this. Same routine. The Mets play hot, they get cold. They get cold, they play hot. There was no consistency as a group. Now, it's not Brandon's fault. It's not his fault. He's been a great Met. It's sad to see him go. Because he's one of my favorite players. He worked really hard. He did a great job. But the Mets needed to break away from the past. And move on and build a different kind of team. Now, Semien's going to come in here. He's a better defensive player. The Mets want to improve on defense. Now, this makes a lot of players available now. This puts the Mets in a very interesting, get too much, a predicament. And really, it opens up the doors. It opens up a lot of opportunities for the Mets. Now, for their outfield, maybe third base. Maybe they put Semien at third. It makes probably Luis and Acuna available. Makes Brett Beatty available. Mark Vientos available. And it makes you wonder where they're going to go. Now, they've taken away a left-handed hitter from the middle of this lineup. Okay? And I would expect them to do more moves. I expect Jeff McNeil to be going too. But they've improved the defense at second base because Semien is a very good defensive player. He's a very good player. He's 2 years old. The Mets, what's interesting about this deal was the Mets took on a little more money over the next 3 years, but they gave up the years. There were 5 years left on the contract for Nimmo, and Semien has another 3 years on his contract, but his money is a little bit more per season. The Mets don't care about the money. They got under from the years that were 5 years remaining on the contract that Nimmo had. Now, like I said, I'm shocked by this trade. Because the Mets brought in an infielder, and that basically kind of tells you that they're going to start moving other players out of here. This was a team this is the front office. They understand now that they had to move some of these players out of here, some of these veteran players out of here. I've talked a lot about the Blue Jays of the 1980s. 1985, they won the division. They didn't win. They lost to the Royals. 1986, they took a step back. 1987, they had a collapse in the last week of the season where the Tigers came back from out of nowhere and won the division. 88, they played poorly. 89, they went to the postseason. Going into the 1990 season, they took a step back. If I remember right, I think the Red Sox won. That following off season, the Blue Jays made a big trade. They brought in Joe Carter, and they brought in Robbie Alomar for Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez. That transformed that team. Now, I bring that up because that team was together for like 4 or 5 years prior to that. They didn't win. They had Lloyd Mosby on that team. They had George Bell on that team. They had a lot of talent. But the talent just didn't do anything. It just didn't, they just didn't have it. That's what the situation we've had here. Now, I've been watching SNY, watching all these different people talking about the Mets. Well, they need to bring this guy in. No, You have to do something different and not make the same mistakes. And the same mistakes have some of the same players here. In 2007, the Mets had that terrible collapse, worse than this one. Okay? Omar, instead of saying to himself, there are players that I need to get rid of. I have to think about getting rid of the manager, get rid of the coaches. He didn't do that. Instead, he brought in Santana. But the same guys were here in 2007, were here in 2008, and we had the same problem. They collapsed. And then he did the same thing. He didn't get rid of anybody. He brought in the closer, Frankie Rodriguez, and that didn't work out. Obviously, the Mets played terrible. I mean, they lost to Carlos Delgado for the rest of his career, and then they lost Jose Reyes for the rest of that season. But anyway, so the Mets are now doing the things I thought they needed to do. Brandon Nimmo's now been traded to the Texas Rangers, and we're going to get Marcus Semien in here. And hopefully we'll have more moves coming up very shortly. Now, I'm going to assume that Brandon Nimmo has waived his no-trade clause because he had a no-trade clause in his contract. I'm going to assume that they talked to him the other day. Now, the word was that, excuse me, that they hadn't asked him about that. But obviously, they must have talked to him and said, you can waive if Brandon's not a bad guy. We talked about him over the last few days about that dumbbell Adam Ottavino has been going after him. But, yeah, this is a shocker. But like I said, you have to make moves. You have to be objective in this situation. The Mets have had multiple chances to win divisions. They've had multiple chances to go further in the postseason. Get to the postseason, they failed, this group. You can't keep bringing the same guys back over and over and over again. Now, I'm going to assume the Mets are going to get rid of Jeff McNeil, okay? The biggest piece, the most difficult piece that the Mets are going to have a tough time moving is now gone. Brandon Nimmo's gone. Now, I would mention, I was, again, so shocked. And I'm still shocked as I just think about this. This has happened over the last 20 minutes as I record this video. Jeff Passan put it out. But to see that he's gone, it's a surprise. Because I thought maybe the contract would be difficult. But he's going to a good place. I mean, Texas is a good place for him and his family. And Semien's a quality player. We'll see what kind of player we'll get at him. He's 35 years old. His offense was 97. His OPS was 97 this past year. So he's 3% less than his what has been. But he's been a very good player over the last several years with the Rangers, with the Blue Jays, the Oakland A's. So the Mets get a good player here. But we'll see what the next move is with the next domino for the fall. Maybe he gets moved on. Maybe they move him. Maybe they, like I said, Jeff McNeil is probably raring to go. Gets shot out of here like a cannonball. This also opens up the door for maybe Kyle Tucker signing with the Mets. We'll see what happens with Pete Alonso. That's still out there. And this is more about the everyday players. And, of course, the Mets need to improve their pitching. But this is a terrific sign. And I feel bad because I love Brandon Nimmo as a player. He's a great guy, great leader. But the Mets needed to move on. And they needed to break this team up. And they did that. That's a big move tonight. So we'll see what the next move is. Like I said, Jeff McNeil, better get ready. The squirrel's going to be flying out of here pretty damn quick. Well, let me know what you think about this video. What do you think about the trade? I'm shocked, I'll tell you that much. But thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later.